Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you watch this. As the propeller turns, that is something I was asked for. I haven't made a movie or a little episode in a while, and you'll see behind me many propellers that could turn. Well, we went out flying today, and I figured upon a popular request I do another one. I wanted to do this anyway, but it may not interest everyone, but I found out something very interesting when it comes to lifeys. Let me show you my battery collection. Normally I have it more stored in these boxes. These are my lipos and lifeys. You see them here already in these lipo bags, lipo batteries, and these bat boxes are really, well, that's what they call them, very good if you need to charge. They make it a very safe experience if should ever anything happen. Well, these are lives, some smart lives and some regular lipos, but here are the lifeys. And that's what I want to talk a little bit more about. Let me grab the two of them and take a seat, and then I'll tell you about them, what I found out. It's very interesting. It's also, this information I'm going to give you in a second is not available readily or on YouTube, period. At least I couldn't find anything. Well, here I'm back. I've taken a seat meanwhile, and these are the lifeys you saw a second ago here on my shelf. I took them off to show them to you. I have these lifeys since over 8 years. These lifeys, well, this one too, make excellent receiver batteries. If you make your receiver battery on a gas airplane subject to 6 volts NiCads, these lifeys subject your receiver to less voltage than your 6 volt NiCads. So if you're willing to do that, you can safely use these lifeys. It's about your servos. Your receiver most likely can take much more anyway. But here's what I want to say. I use these for powering my servos and the receiver on my gas airplanes, and also the ignition at the same time. In one of them I use these two, and as you can tell, they have 10C. That means a rating of 10 times 2.1 milliamp. That would be 10C. That's how much they are safe to draw out of one of those. But my actual concern was, I was flying my pits, and you know my pits. Let me just remind you in case you don't remember it. Well, that's not my pits. That's a P47 that I will come to in a little bit. Here's my pits. I run my servos, the receiver, and the ignition on my 2-cylinder 40 motor. It's a very nice motor. So anyway, I've been flying this and was fine. I have my pit since a long time. Even so, I've been flying it more recently. So one day I wanted to know internal resistance, and on lipos, the internal resistance, if you have 5 or 10 or 20, you're okay. But I look at these internal resistance. I was very curious, and I was floored. It was 100 ohms on my charger. I have several chargers, and I tested them on all the chargers, and it's like 100 ohms internal resistance. So I figured I better do in here I say it even 100, 125 ohms. I said I better do a visual inspection. These things must be looking horrible. Well, they look like brand new, like 10 years or 8 years on the first day. So obviously there's no physical damage, not to the wires, and nothing. I couldn't find any information, and here I had these numbers. I wasn't gonna risk my pits, not thinking that this internal resistance is too high, which if you picture the internal resistance, you know, the energy flowing out of these batteries, it's squeezed like a thin wire, causing brownouts maybe, or that could be, you know. So I figured, what am I gonna do? So I bought 2 brand new ones, very, very good ones, brand. I make enough brand commercials here. So I pack them, unpack them, I put them on my charger, and I thought, great, I'm going to show everybody. It turns out that my brand new one yield about the same numbers. And then I checked another old one that I use more often. Well, this one has 200 internal resistance, 200. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lifeys I check, and they all come in either with much more, or the 2 new ones was about the same. Not much difference there to even fuss about. So I wanted to make this known that lifeys have a tremendous internal resistance. Well, normally that's also fine, because they are not flight batteries where you need a lot of energy in a jiffy, and they can't deliver that. That's part why they are not used. A LiPo has, a normal LiPo, let's just say, has 10 omegas in internal resistance, ohms, you know, and it's an omega ohm, but these ones have 100, and that's fine for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 servos and an ignition and a receiver. That they do not cause a brownout, so they release enough energy to do that. And I didn't have a problem until I thought I had one. But like so many times, our thoughts might not necessarily reflect the truth. I just thought I better check, and so I did. I put the new ones in my pits, and these ones will go in my super cup. I'll just show it to you briefly. It's a very nice cup. It's also a big boy, and it has a nice gas powered motor. It flies very nice. So I'm gonna put these one in here, since these ones are good here now, and not easy to come by. So I wanted you to know that internal resistance, it seems, of 100 ohms on my lifeys, and on this one even 200, it seems perfectly fine. The new ones have the same about, and here you are. Most amazing. Now I put my bits back together and gonna go fly it in a minute. Well, on Saturday, I hope. As the propeller turns, that's one of the new things I wanted to show. Now here we have, maybe I can make the scene a bit better. My P47, this is a fun scale, meaning it's not full scale. It flies really good, much more like a sport airplane. And fun scale is because the body is not completely round, you see. But you don't really see that much when you're in the air, believe it or not. It goes 100 miles. I clocked it. Was one of my friend's devices, and if this is on, then it even looks much more pretty. These checkered flag patterns I managed to put on there, but it is a ARF that does theoretically not need glue, sold by Horizon Hobbies. It's a very good flying, a very good behaving model that flies more instead of a warbird like a sport scale model. It's nice. It comes with a wooden propeller. It takes 4-cell battery with that, or you can also fly it with a 6-cell. But I like it with the slightly lighter battery better, the 4-cell. It comes with an Avion speed controller that offers, compared with the correct radio, the ability for reverse. And this does not have flaps. And I've been lately more and more experimenting with models that don't have flaps. They land fine, especially this one, or my biplane. This one lands very good without flaps, but it takes a bit of runway, and if you don't have that, I label my switches brake on, brake off, but it refers to the reverse. So I land, I have a good amount of speed, I'm on the ground, I flip my switch and go, and that's all it takes to knock the speed out of these landings and shorten the runway up tremendously. I don't even let it go into a reversing motion. In my case, it's just asking for trouble and not necessary. A jet that I have back here works like a vacuum cleaner, and if you suck in a stone, you ruin your impeller. On these ones, I don't know. I don't need to have reverse like on a car. Once it stopped, of course I flip brakes off. Then I'm back in a regular, and I taxi them home. This one I ready, and I'm gonna activate the brake in a little bit. I'll show you this on the next movie. I wanted to really publicize these lifeys and the internal resistance, which is for a LiPo user, if he checks, like I all of a sudden did, frighteningly, if that's a word, high, 100, 125. I wrote it on here because, so in my brand new ones, not much different. So I thank you very much for watching another episode as the propeller turns, and here I am in all beauty. You know, I haven't shaved in a while, but in the spirit of the season, I feel like I look more and more like Santa. So I'm not too crazy about or fast about shaving, but here's another Pitts FMS. It's also a good size, but not quite as big as my 33% or third scale. That is, well, wait a minute, you see it here. This glider back here is 5 meters. It's really, well, why can't I here? This glider here, it's really very big. One of my friends has made a video of this. There's my other airplanes. I hung them on the ceiling so I'm not falling over them. Well, anyway, thank you very much for watching another episode as the propeller turns, and I see you in the next one. Thank you and bye-bye.